What should we talk about today? Let's talk about Etherchannel or port channels. In this video, we will discuss how to provide extra bandwidth for your most important or mission critical devices. We take a look here, we see just a basic, we'll make it as simple as possible. So you have your core and you have an access switch, very basic. Now you could do this with many devices going back up to the core switch or in any area that you want. So if we go into the core and we'll do a show interface status, we'll see that these devices are connected and nothing major here. This should be the spanning tree root port, and this is the root. And in this case, we're not going to talk too much about this, but one important thing that you need to see when you do a show spanning tree is the root will always have every single port in designate and forward. It's very crucial. It's one of the keys. So besides that it mentions it up top that this is the root, you also can see it here. There should not be any other state. It should always be designated and forwarding. If we go to the access switch, there should be a difference there. Let's do a show interface status first. Make sure everything is up and running. So we see core has two connections, GI00, 01, and so forth. So we're matching 00 and 00 on each switch. And that's what we have here. They're connected. So at the low level, you'll see that it's connected. In other words, it's getting electricity. But when we go up a level and we take a look at spanning tree, it's reporting that the root is the core switch, but you'll see that the ports are, this one is in root mode, meaning G00 is pointing up to the root and it's in forwarding. And G01, which is the secondary, it's in alternate and it's in blocking mode. And that's the way it is, because if not, it would have a loop. It would send packets up and it would just keep making a circle and a circle. And that's a way that switches protect each other. You can't have redundant paths, or can you? Well, there's a way to make it so that you can have multiple connections between switches. And this is what is called an ether channel or a port channel. And the way this works is we have to configure it on both sides. And it's very important that we get the order of the commands put in correctly. And there's a couple of caveats that we have to take a look at. It's very important, like I mentioned, that you put the order of the commands in the right way, because you shouldn't and you can't come back and start configuring the individual ports. You'll bring down the network pretty much. So let's do an interface range, because we want to pick GI00 and 01, and we'll do that. So if you question mark it, you could do that. And you see, you just put G00 to 3, but in this case, we just want 0 to 1, the two interfaces. And what we want to do, we want to enable this to be a trunk port. Right now, it's an access port. So if we do a switch port trunk in cap, and we've seen this in another video, do that one. We don't want ISL. And then we do switch port mode trunk. That should get us up and running. But now the command to get this is, and let's do a question mark so you could see here. Sometimes it gets all blurry because we see all the commands, but this is the command, channel group. And then that's what creates the ether channel port bundling configuration. Okay. And there are different protocols for this. So let's take a look at that. Channel group. And then we specify which one we want. So let's just say channel group 10 mode question mark, and here it is. So you have LACP and you have PAGP. Which one do you want to use? Okay, so here's the thing, PAGP is Cisco proprietary. So if you're doing a trunk between, or a port channel between Cisco and a different vendor, PAGP or PAGP will not work. Okay, that's one way to understand it. And the way that I memorize this is P for proprietary, Cisco proprietary. That's what you have to remember. Okay, so if we just want to use LACP, then we put active. Okay, now we're in active mode. And of course they went down because we need to configure the other side. So let's go over here and you get the error messages. And same thing, interface range G00 to 1. And remember, we want to configure switch port trunk encapsulation D. I just want to show you something here real quick too. You could just, since the commands are very few, if you just hit E, that will work. Tab that out, it fills it in for you. But if you don't want to tab it out, you can do E and D. Switch port trunk ED, bam, done. Switch port mode trunk, done. And then we want to set the channel group. Remember that? And it was 10, I believe. Once again, what's the mode? We want to do LACP because it will not work with PAGP. They have to be the same mode. What else do we have? That's it. We don't have any other configuration on there. So if you look at it, it shows that it created this command, port channel 10, and it brought it back up. So if we do a show run and it says port PO10, it creates this port channel, interface port channel. Okay, so what is represented now in spanning tree? You see that it no longer has any of them in blocking mode, but then it puts this over here, PO10. If you look at it, it's missing GI001 here, but it's represented here. Now that should give you a clue that all your configuration now should be in that port channel. And that is it. In a future video, I will go over different configurations, how to break this, how to fix it, and we'll have a lot of fun just doing that. Till next time.